If you've been following our shorts, then you probably know that I've made the world's first real functioning HALO DMR. In this video, I'm going to show you some of the steps I took to make the HALO Reach DMR, taking a regular Kel-Tec RDB and making it something worthy for Master Chief. Now, I say some of the steps because I found out I have over 3 hours of footage, but even with over 3 hours of footage, I'm still missing a lot of steps, so it's probably going to end up jumping around. I'm going to try to fill in the blank, but it's probably still going to be a long video and very boring, so if you're looking for something like an entertaining Hacksmith, Michael Reeves, or I Did a Thing video, I'm sorry. Really, you guys should be blaming YouTube, because regardless if I make an entertaining or boring video, YouTube's gonna demonetize it anyways, so if I'm gonna put in that much effort just for YouTube to demonetize and, hide my content, then what's the point? But YouTube, while we're on the topic, if you somehow see this, whoever's reviewing it, this is not a modification to a firearm. None of the internal components are modified. This is a bone stock Kel-Tec RDB, okay? All it is, it's cosplay. It's just cosmetic parts. It's still a semi-automatic RDB. It started as a semi-automatic civilian sporting rifle. It ends as a civilian semi-automatic sporting rifle, albeit really fucking cool. But, please? Alright, let's get into it. So this started life as my tan 20-inch Kel-Tec RDB. I actually wanted to make this my quote-unquote actual gun. This is what it looks like before I decided I wanted to make a HALO DMR, because I didn't actually know I was going to make a HALO DMR. Brad from Impact Props gave me a call and he was like, hey, what do you got? And I was like, well, I can make a HALO DMR. And he's like, cool, when can you get it done? Can you get it done in a month? And I was like, I'll try. So first thing I had to do once I decided to make a DMR was to cut off my rail. Now, I had a long Lucky Irishman Tactical Rhino rail. It's a great rail and I highly recommend it for anybody that has a RDB to get one. But to get the DMR look, having the barrel exposed, I had to cut the front of the rail off. If I had known I was going to make a DMR, I should have just bought the short one. They do make a shorter one, which might make it easier. I don't know. If I ever decide to make another one, I'll buy the short one next time. Most of the pieces I modeled in Fusion 360 and then printed out. I had to do a lot of custom fabrication and basically fitting because it's not perfect. My 3D printing skill isn't quite there yet. It's getting better, but I still have a long way to go. I'll try to break down each individual parts I made. There's really 3 big parts. I think it's the handguard, the stock, and the gas block and gas tube area, the little part on the front. But here you can see that I messed up on cutting the length of the handguard because I just eyeballed it, something about cut once, measure once. Now let's start with the handguard. The handguard is made out of 3 big blocks. You have the back block, you have the top, and you have the bottom part. And if you see my naming convention, don't make fun of it. This shit's hard, okay? Oh, and it's got the details on the side. So 4 major parts really, plus, components. And it is attached via M-LOK. I did have to make M-LOK interface for the bottom of the Lucky Irishman M-LOK handguard. I will say that I messed up the first time and I mismatched where the M-LOK interface is, so I had to print it like 3 times. There's 2 sets you see on screen, and that's because, like I mentioned before, I messed up on the length. I didn't factor in the kind of the spacing for the gas block area and the gas tube. Since I was on a time crunch, I ended up printing an extension to add to the handguard because I've already spent way too much time making it. Now, if I was gonna do it again, I would make it a long one because the longer one actually has the right angle and looks better. Now, you have to be looking really closely to be able to tell, and on screen you can't really, but it's one of those things where it's like I'll always know I kind of fucked this part up, so if I was gonna do it again, I would do it right. So that's the handguard done until painting. We're gonna move on to the gas block. At least I think it's a gas block, I don't know, it makes sense to me. I wanted to make it out of a solid block and I couldn't figure out how to attach it, and then I realized I could just make a sleeve that slides over the Lucky Irishman handguard and then gets clamped down by the optic rail on top, and that worked out great, so I kind of got lucky there. The gas block is just two 3D printed pieces glued together, and then it looks kind of like Tremor when I have it clamped down. I don't know, that's what it looks like to me. I used 3D modeling paste, acrylic 3D modeling paste to finish the surface because, like I mentioned, I'm not very good at 3D printing yet. There's still some details that kind of gets lost, but I'm working on it. This stuff is great though. And since I was already using the modeling paste, I might as well work on another project while I was waiting for it to dry. Next, we move on to the gas tube and the flashlight attachment up front. Now, I have to give myself some props for figuring out how to do this. I had the foresight of leaving a little tab left when I cut the Rhino rail, and that tab left over in front lets me make a clamshell that clamps around it, and as you saw in the 3D model, I left a little bit of an opening, and that opening lets me put a 45-degree offset M-LOK flashlight mount, and that's how I get the flashlight and gas tube together. Now, this is where I had to make some compromise. The gas tube and flashlight are both a little bit too short and fat. I would like to make them more screen accurate, but this is the only way I could get it to kind of work well in terms of functionality and durability. Ideally, the barrel should be a little bit longer, and I would be able to figure out a way to kind of weld and mount a tube in front of the handguard, but since again I was on the kind of a time crunch, so this is the best method that I was able to come up with. And I think it worked pretty well. At this point, the gun's already looking pretty good. And normally, I probably would have just called it here. And I would be like, cool guys, I made a custom tan HALO DMR, which I think is kind of cool, the tan look. But since I'm working with Impact Props and Master Chief is gonna shoot it, I figured I probably should make it look even better, and it probably shouldn't be tan. So I went back to the drawing board and I had to take everything apart, paint it, and add even more details. Details such as the side panels that cover the original M-LOK rails, and probably a better flash hider. So I took the gun apart so I could paint it. This is where I also realized that I kind of made a mistake. The stock you're seeing right now, that's a HALO battle rifle stock. I thought I could just recycle old content, but the battle rifle stock and the DMR stock is pretty distinct, and I wanted to do it much better, so I went back to Fusion 360 and drew up a design that is much closer to the DMR. And I'm kind of glad I did that because the design ended up looking sick, and this is where I also tried something new. Instead of gluing the pieces together, I actually made holes for heated inserts, so they actually thread in instead of just glue. Heat set inserts are pretty cool. I've never used them before, but essentially you use a heat press to push in a thread, and this allows you to use fasteners on plastic pieces, so I don't have to use glue. Unfortunately, as you can see, the machine that I bought from Amazon is a piece of shit, and I totally didn't burn myself while using it. You can see I'm wearing gloves. Here you can see more of the little details that I put in for the stock on the DMR. Like stuff like the little insets, the panels, the UNSC, the fake magazine, and it just looks a lot better. Now the only thing left is to paint the whole gun, and lots and lots of layers of spray paint. The only thing now left is the side panel, and for that I just took some sheet ABS, cut it, bend it, and then added little detail pieces to it. Around this time I also noticed that the DMR actually has Picatinny rails on the side of the gas block. So I thought, hey, it'd be cool to make it more functional by adding those Picatinny rails on my DMR. Now, unfortunately, I realized too late that the Picatinny rails on the model is a lie. They're way too thin and skinny, which is why the gun looks good. I had already drill tapped and added Picatinny rails on the side of my gas block before I realized that it was too thick and ugly, so I had to get rid of them. I used some drywall spackling to help me fill the holes. It's a nice technique I like to use before putting putty or resin, because putty and resin is usually too flowy or takes too long to dry, so the spackle helps hold it in place, or I'd have to use a lot of putty and multiple layers of resin to do the same thing. Oh yeah, one last step I forgot. This is an old trick I picked up from my old airsofting days, filling in trademarks, or in this case, the UNSC logo on the stock. And the secret is just crayon. You just get whatever crayon, in this case white, and jam it in, and then wipe away the excess. It will work on real guns too, and I think it looks great. Go ahead, give it a try. And that's it. The only thing left now is to reassemble the gun and function check, and the rest is history. If you stuck with us this long, thanks for watching, and please leave any comments, questions, or concerns down below, and we'll try to address them. Now, I know a lot of comments are probably going to be along the lines of, hey, can you make me the gun or parts, and hey, give me the files. Now, unfortunately, I can't do that right now. I would like to make a living or a business out of doing something like this. I think it's super cool to make real or sci-fi or Halo guns come to life. And yeah, so Caltech, if you're listening, hit me up. Let's collab or give me a job. But if you guys know any good place to like drop files and maybe have like a donation link for the files, I wouldn't mind dropping some of the files. I just don't know what's a good place. I guess I could probably look around, but if you guys know any good 2A places to drop 3D files like this, let me know. And for those of you wondering, I'm sorry there's no shooting of the gun yet. The only shooting video you're gonna see is gonna be at Impact Props, so go check out that video. It's sick, okay? The ending with the, you know what? Just go watch that video. That video is sick. But we will have more shooting video for this gun. It's just right now I'm too busy and it's way too hot outside, so I don't have the time or energy. But please, you know, just keep checking on the channel, and we will drop shooting video hopefully next month. And yeah, thanks for watching. See ya.